Hello and welcome to ToyFarerapy. I am your host, Dr. ModernToyfare, and I am joined by my YouTube wife, the man who founded the Neca Illuminati, Mrs. Dr. ModernToyfare, Jarmar_Games. Along with the man ModernToyfare has majority custody over, 1/3 of the Figuratively Speaking podcast, Nurse Nate. How are you guys doing this week?
Doing good. Every time you say Nurse Nate, I always get the I hit my microphone. Sorry about that. I always get the feeling to just say hello, nurse.
Oh yeah, right.
I feel like that's the proper
Yes.
the proper response. I feel like the only thing I would really want to do different was we need to at least one episode have him dress up like Nurse Joy, right? I feel like that has to happen.
God.
I do it. I'm down.
Nate will do anything for the internet, even when there's no money
why not?
involved, because we don't get paid
No.
for this.
No, this is all our own personal fortune and glory.
It is, for hopefully just for now, though. So this week, I am going to be the guest. And the way that ToyFarerapy works is we ask our guests a handful of questions to find out what and why they collect the toys that they collect. So I'm going to hand it off to Jarmar, so that way I can take a seat on the couch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Sit down, Michael. The seat's warm.
Well, that's what was going on in this seat.
I'm sorry, my last patient. Yeah. Anyways,
Jesus.
this is fun. I appreciate you handing the reins over to me, getting a little bit of one-on-one action here with you.
Oh,
It's been a while since I've recorded an episode of Why Are You a Gamer? A podcast platform across the world. Anyway, sorry, I quit. Anyway, so you know the rundown. We're gonna start off with our number one question that we always started with. What toy lines do you collect and why?
so the number one toy line I collect, and if you've been a fan of the channel at all, you already know this, and that is Mezco. And for whatever reason, I love the idea of Hot Toys, but I hate 12-inch or taller figures. So Mezco found a way to make it look good and have that in that nice little 1/12 6-inch scale. And I got the first one I got was the Dark Knight Returns Batman, and I fell in love with it. And then they start coming up with like all the Justice League members, like Green Arrow, and then Flash, and Reverse Flash, and Superman, and just kind of kept steamrolling. And they also did Marvel characters with Captain America and Iron Man and Spider-Man, and now I have probably more of those than anything else. Beyond that, I collect SH Figuarts, Dragon Ball Z figures. I used to kind of just grab whatever I wanted, and now I'm shrinking it down to just the Boo Saga, just because it's a very expensive line to kind of go too deep on. So that's getting shrunk down. Luckily, there's less than 10 of those figures for now, because for whatever reason, the Boo Saga does not get nearly as much love as it deserves.
That's right.
I do collect Neca, despite the fact that on this channel we have had a love-hate relationship with Neca on a regular basis. Originally, it was primarily with the turtles, but I've kind of cooled off on those. Now it's more so just I'm still on the fence with the boys line, just because they still look a little weird to me. But the Universal monsters, like I just picked up the black and white Frankenstein's monster, and it looks incredible. So I can't wait to get more into that line. I do have some odds and ends here and there. I'm trying to think, like, I get some random characters, like you can see there's the Marvel Select Falcon. Essentially, if there's like just a one-off character that I'm like, I want that, as Jarmar would say, the shelf representation. If I want that for one character, I don't really care what line it is. I'll just go through and pick which one I think looks the best, or will look the best on the shelf, because sometimes they'll look great, but they won't have any articulation, and I into statues. I used to do wrestling figures, but now I've only got a couple left. Like I've got the Ultimate Hollywood Hulk Hogan, just because that was, when I was a kid, he was my first like favorite wrestler and my first actual wrestling action figure. So I was like, well, I have to have that. And then I have back to NECA. I've got a Doc Brown. I might eventually get a Marty. Still on the fence about that. But yeah, for the most part,
That's a weird one for me. Like that one, we gotta go back on that. Like how do you have a Doc Brown but not have a Marty? Like,
Because for me, it's not about like that's another like shelf representation thing. I just need one representation from that property, and if I had to choose between the two, I'm sorry, but Doc Brown way better character than Marty is.
you're not getting, Doc confused with Rick, right?
What?
I mean, like I get
No.
it. Like you collect Rick and Morty, like you're getting Rick. But like
Yeah.
Back to the Future,
I don't know. I guess to me, Marty just always seemed like he was kind of a douche. Like he was likable, but he was kind of a douche to like everybody. It was always me with him, and I don't know. I get it. He is
And he
the main
totally-
character. I accept that he is the main focus of those movies. I just like Doc Brown better.
I mean, I understand liking him better. It's weird that a situation like that you wouldn't get them both. Now, to be fair, this is the same company. Well, this is your fault, not their fault. But I just always want to point out that NECA re-released Ted from Bill and Ted, but not Bill.
See, so it's not just me who doesn't understand that
that's
you need
dumb.
both characters.
That's dumb.
To go off that as well, though, because one thing that I don't know if we'll get into it or if you talk about it or not, but like you do a lot of like photography with your figures, with like your reviews and stuff. So isn't it weird to just not have like Marty at all?
So here's my thing: if
Wouldn't
NECA
you
came
want it
out
just for the photo, as the kids would say,
if NECA would come out with a 1/12 scale, or I guess 7-inch scale for them, DeLorean, I would get a Marty to go with it. But I don't have a DeLorean, so I don't feel a need to have both characters at that point. Because I've got that thing that represents that movie that I enjoy, and that's good enough for me.
I'll allow it for
yeah.
time's sake.
I'm
I don't
all
like
fair,
the
you got a
answer.
talking to, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm gonna hear it after we're done recording, though.
So, additional addendum to add on to this, though. So you said your main line is Mezco.
Yes.
So what has been your favorite Mezco figure thus far?
Oh man, that is a hard one because every time I think I've figured out which one's my favorite, they come out with one that's like 10 times better, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like this is my favorite now. Or I'll
So,
go
like-
back and buy one that I didn't have before, and I'm like, wow, this is even better. So like, if
So
I
Jarmar wants to get into 112, and
What's
you're
the
like,
one I did?
this is the pinnacle 112. This
can
is
I do one Marvel and one DC just that way? Like,
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
If you're doing DC, the Green Arrow, like he's one of the early ones, so the like some of the articulation points are kind of hit or miss. Like his ankle pivot's kind of mediocre, but still a great figure. Pose is fantastic. The accessories beyond anything I could ask for in a Green Arrow figure. For the Marvel side of things, I would have said previously the classic Spider-Man that they did. The actual comic book one, not the Tom Holland ones. But after getting him, I might say Doctor Strange. Like they really killed it. He's got
I've heard that's great.
the sigil like effects that like go around his wrists. He's got like different hands to do all the like different like things and shit. And he has two different versions of the Eye of Agamotto where it's like open and closed. His cape is actually magnetic, so it like will like stick to his chest without any sort of like issues where it's like, oh, you can tell if you don't have the cape on. It's also wired, so you can kind of pose it like it's flowing since it's kind of alive as it is. So yeah, up until a month ago when I got Doctor Strange, I would have said Spider-Man all day, but Doctor Strange is definitely probably the best Marvel one I own. But yeah, those would be my two like gateway drugs if you're gonna get into Mezco for if you want to go DC or Marvel.
All right. And then do you have a dream Mezco figure that they haven't done yet?
Oh man, that's a long list.
List is long.
I have to go with my one true though, and that is a Nightwing. We are finally getting a Robin. Granted, based on the symbol they use, it's gonna be Damien, which gives me hope that the forbidden door is open now, that we will get a Nightwing. I just hope that they don't fuck it up, because there's sometimes the costume designs are just incredible, wouldn't change a thing, and sometimes they're like, oh, it's not bad, but it's not what I wanted. Luckily the Batmans have been pretty solid, so I have to assume if they do anything in the Bat family, that's like Mez's thing where he's going to give that the love it deserves. Even though he doesn't like the Robin characters, so who knows? Another line that I completely forgot about, Super 7 with the turtles from that.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I use them as proxy turtles for the IDW figures that we'll never get. But I still think they're fantastic, and they've got my wallet for now until they run out of cool things that I don't need.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I mean, to know you is to know that you're like a grumpy guy and you don't like a lot of things and people. So as we'll go to the next question then. What is like a toy line that you just refuse to touch? You just won't buy it?
Hot Toys. I refuse. The only large scale figures I have for specific reasons. Behind me on the shelf, there is the Mondo animated series Batman, but I got the display stand signed by Kevin Conroy. That entire purchase from beginning to end was for that end goal. I've got, you can't really see it down here, but I've got the Mondo Leonardo that was signed by Kevin Eastman. That's why it's still in the box. So again,
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Jarmar was nice enough to go to the convention that I couldn't get to get that signed. So again, another purchase that was, the end game for that. It was specifically for that purpose. I think Hot Toys look incredible. I think the price tag is ridiculous. And I have no room or no desire for a 12-inch figure. It's too big for any shelf, and the amount of space you would need to do some of the stuff like with the diorama stuff, like with the Marvel display up there I have with them fighting Thanos, I would need a room to do that with Hot Toys just for that one display. And that's just doesn't feel worth it to me. I get there's people that love them, and more power to you. If you have the room and the money, fucking go for it, because they're incredible. It's just not for me.
Yeah, it's speaking from someone who dipped their toe and then immediately ran back into the house. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say you dip your toe though, because you've like pre-ordered like 12 of them at this point.
Yeah, and I've only received 2. I canceled 4, and I'm still on the fence on a couple others. So, yeah. So like I said, I dipped my toe.
Maybe the foot.
And then I ran.
Foot. Yeah.
Maybe
you went ankle deep at least. We'll say that.
Maybe I fell in and I
yeah. The lifeguard finally showed up and showed you the business.
I hit my head though. I'm a little damaged.
It was shallow. You're not supposed to dive in.
Yeah.
Or fall in for that.
Yeah, Hot Toys were one of those things that I had no clue what that was all about. I just knew they were super expensive. They looked like photorealistic.
Oh yeah, but like it's like you have you get Captain America and it looks like you have a tiny fucking Chris Evans on your shelf.
It does. I do have that one. It does. It's
incredible. I don't need it. I have zero desire.
How about this? This is like a curveball then, since you refuse. Would there be anything that could come from Hot Toys that would make you do it? Like, they're like, oh my god, we have the perfect thing that we're making for Michael, and
they know me specifically.
It's on sale too. It's on sale. You got like a 25% off coupon.
Wow, 25% off.
All right, maybe
that's like $100.
Yeah, that's a little unreasonable. Maybe it's like one of those 5% coupon codes from like.
Oh, you're making this even harder now.
One of those apps or something,
Oh god, I don't know, because they have tons of Batman stuff, so I never have even had like an itch for it. I will say, I guess I'd say, and this is only because there's a third party company that does them, and they've almost gotten me twice now, is if they did a Nightwing and Robin 2-pack from Titans. That might get me. Because there's a third party company that does them. They look incredible, and I'm just like, no. There's no 12-inch in this household.
That's what she said.
Oh man.
Yes, definitely.
I'm not even making the joke. It's just too easy. So we should probably move on to the next question, unless you have a follow up to that, Nate.
No, it is too easy. So is Michael.
That I am.
um, the next question here is, I don't know if you've read the questions ahead of time.
Oh, I wrote the
Michael.
questions, so
I know it was a joke. It's your show. I know. So, do you have any lines that you collect only a certain figure for, or do you just go like completionist for everything? We know about your Dick Shrine, so
yes. So I do have a Dick Shrine. Robin / Nightwing, Dick Grayson is my all-time favorite character across any platform. So I do have, God, dozens of different figures from different lines of just him, all from different companies and stuff. A lot of DC collectible stuff before that got killed and now kind of coming back. I still am very picky though. I don't just, oh, it's Nightwing, I have to have it, or oh, it's Robin, I have to have it. It has to be something that looks good, because I used to do that and I just ran out of the room. Like at one point, like one of these like 4 tiered shelves was just full from top to bottom with Nightwing and Robin stuff, and it was most of the stuff was just stupid shit that I'd pick up like impulsively at cons or see at the store or something. And there's just a lot of stuff that I'm like, I don't even like this. Why the fuck do I have it? So like that, I'm very picky on. I'm really not a completionist in any way, shape, or form. There's zero line that I'm like, I have to have it all. I feel like that's
You won't even buy 2 famous pairs.
I won't even fucking buy. I won't even buy Marty McFly to go with my Doc Brown. So if that's not a sign I'm not a completionist,
so you're
then
definitely not a complete.
And I feel like that also kind of stems from the fact that I've never had really like a job that put me in a position where I could justify just spending $100 per wave of figure to get the completionist like feel to it.
Help me, I'm poor.
So it just never gave me that desire. And even then, most waves always have like a handful of characters. I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck that is, or I don't want that character, or don't like that character. So like it's always been kind of easy for me just to kind of pick and choose what I want, especially with my main line being Mezco. That line's so all over the place that if you're a completionist, God help you, because like with those figures starting at $80 on the low end, and the amount of figures they come out and variations of every figure, and especially just the Gomez verse stuff that they've been doing for the past few years alone, you're gonna need a house just for your Mezco collection, and probably like 7 jobs to support that habit. So I luckily I've never had the urge to be a completionist with it.
makes sense. I feel like sometimes maybe you get wrapped up in the whirlwind of excitement. And
oh, I do. I impulse
get you. You're like, I just want to get it all, but
oh, trust me,
I'm
I've done that for Build-A-Figures. There have been some lines like Juggernaut, my favorite Marvel character, and when they did the Juggernaut wave of X-Men, I didn't really want most of the characters, but I bought them all just to make Juggernaut. There's been several things like that I've done. I'm also a big impulse like buyer in general. Like I'll be like, oh, that's really cool, and I'll buy it, and I'll just be like, why do we have this? Like, I don't need this. I don't have room for this. And then it'll go in the pile of things that like has to get recycled and sold to fund other things.
Makes sense. Spending that money, that's not real. So the next question that we have is, as displayed behind you, you got a lot of loose figures out there. I guess the question is, do you prefer to free it from the box, or do you leave it on card?
It's very evident. I am very much, free the figure. Let's, let them breathe. The point of these figures, like, what's the point of having all this articulation if you ain't gonna pose them and display them? Like, it just kind of like, I get it. Some people are into that like more like collector mentality, and that's fine. That's for you, not for me. I want my figures to fucking look cool. I mean, hell, we talked about me taking all these pictures of them. Can't do that if it's in the box. Now, going the opposite direction, though, there are certain things that I do keep in the box. So, like, for instance, we already talked about the Mondo Leo that I got signed. That's in the box. Now, had they had a nice little stand like
Jarmar
Batman,
got signed.
yes, that Jarmar got signed for me. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the
had a display stand like the Batman, I probably would have taken it out and just got the stand signed instead. But that's not the case, so I just got the box signed. Well, Jarmar got the box signed, so I don't get corrected again. And then I also like they're doing all these retro packaging with the Hasbro stuff with Marvel Legends and Star Wars. So I have a pile of in-box figures in the closet on the shelf waiting for me to get a bigger space that I can like pin them up and make a really cool display on the wall with all of those like old Marvel and Star Wars like throwback cards that just look so cool that I'm like, if I decide I need this figure out, I have to buy 2 of them because at least one of them has to stay on card.
Can agree with that. I feel that in so many levels.
Yeah, and then it also breaks my heart when I do buy 2 of them and I have to open one. I'm like, oh, this card's just so beautiful, but rip.
You know, you can still be very surgical with it to preserve the awesomeness of the box, even though you have 2. Even though I have 2, yeah. So when you're, you know, again ripping open that packaging, and you got these figures displayed, do you like, what do you do with the accessories? Are you always like posing them with the accessories? Do you have an accessory stash?
Oh man, I can't believe I did not come prepared for this. So I
didn't either when I had mine.
Right, we came up with the questions together for this show, and none of us came prepared except for I think Jarmar had like some because he was currently packing them up as he was doing like the live streams and stuff with us. So
after season 1, we'll have to do like a where are they now?
I mean, we already have to do that because you've already changed all your roles, so you already have to get a 2.0 episode.
Right.
Yeah. We're only on episode 3, and you've already changed your shit from 2 episodes ago. So if you go to hell, you can do this at Walmart or even craft stores. They have these nifty little boxes that have little compartments, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I probably have almost 10 different ones. I usually buy like 2 or 3 of the same one every time until I run out of space and need more. So like my Mezco ones, Michael's had a sale on these big, massive like craft holders that had little individual like boxes inside and just kind of, you know, file them in there. So I was like, okay, perfect for my Mezco stuff. Just have everyone's stuff in their own little compartment since they all come with so much shit. Box them in that big one, put them to the side. And then I have like medium-sized ones where you can actually like set the little dividers wherever you want. And I use that for the lines that have a lot more accessories, but not enough for the other like tackle box style. So like I have one for all my Ninja Turtle stuff, since there's like 3 different lines worth of that. And then another one for my Figuarts stuff, since they come with a bunch of hands and faces and stuff, and they're all in different sizes, so it's nice to be able to adjust the, you know, different compartments and not be stuck into like a little like 2-inch square. And then I do have smaller ones, a bunch of smaller ones for all the random accessories that I've gotten that I may or may not have only bought the figure for those accessories and then got rid of the figure. Mostly like food stuff, random things to kind of make the photos, you know, feel a little more alive and not just like, look, there's a dude and another dude or something. Like you've got like a little water bottle or a fucking Fritos bag, like stuff like that. To kind of just throw into the displays. All of my figures do also have some of their accessories posed with them. It just kind of depends on what shelf they're on and stuff like that. But most of them I do just have basically at this point, if I stacked them all up, it'd probably be like 4 or 5 foot tall, like stack of containers just filled with accessories.
So explaining the madness with your Dewey Decimal System of accessories, do you like, I'm assuming you just get rid of the boxes then, like after you open them?
Most of them I recycle. Some of them I do keep, like the Super 7 boxes. Those are just way too nice boxes, so I do keep those. I keep all my Mezco boxes.
I was gonna ask that, especially because like those metal ones and stuff.
Yeah, because those ones they're nicer boxes, and it's a thing where if they ever, especially now that they're starting to re-release like updated versions of figures, so it's nice to have that box. So it's like, okay, let me get rid of the old one to make room for the new one, kind of thing. Like they just did that with Wolverine's supposed to come out here in a couple months. Luckily, I had the box for my old Wolverine, so I was able to sell that and kind of help fund the new one. I do have some statues. Like I have a DC Collectibles. It was part of like an artist series, Reverse Flash. I can't remember what artist it was, but I kept the box for that. I have a few Nightwing statues. Those also I kept the boxes for. Trying to think. I can't. The light's not on in the closet because I actually have a shelf in the closet for the boxes I keep. That's nice and organized. I do keep. I have like my NECA Godzillas and stuff. I kept the boxes for those just because they have the really cool artwork on them. But beyond that, like most of the retail stuff that I get, I usually just recycle the box because 9 times out of 10, it never goes anywhere in price to where it's like, oh no, you don't have the box and now it's worthless if you were to get rid of it or something like that.
Fair. That's fair. Always recycle, collectors out there.
Yes.
That's just
And something you need to know is you need to rip the little plastic windows out of the boxes. Otherwise, they won't recycle them.
Oh, like with the ones with the picture. I was like, don't that just come off? But now I know what you mean.
Yeah,
like a
no.
Super 7, which don't,
Oh yeah, don't murder those. You should keep those. Even
Marvel
though that's
Legends, Black
Marvel,
Series.
there you go.
Basically,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
McFarlane.
Everybody, Todd McFarlane here.
Going back to question 1, McFarlane DC Universe. How did I forget that?
Yeah. That's
but yeah, so like those boxes, they've got a big ass plastic window. You just kind of punch it in and rip it out, and you recycle that separately. Because if you don't, it eventually gets thrown into the trash because they won't tear them apart on your behalf at the recycle center.
the more you know.
We need. I'll make sure to find a way to put the little rainbow in there.
That would be great.
Well, following this up with the final question, and it feels like it goes too fast. What is your holy grail figure? And we talked about some earlier a little bit, but are you still hunting them? Have you like managed to get it? Like what? Give us the story.
So I've literally spent the past however many weeks that we've been doing this show with your guys' episode trying to figure out the answer to this question, because there's not really, like, at least out of the stuff that I've like hunted down, like even stuff that like skyrocketed in price that I had to find afterwards, so I had to like sell a bunch of stuff to justify the difference in cost. There's never been anything that was like that's the great white whale. That's it's always been like, that I like this figure, it's fantastic, it's worth that price tag to me. But if, something ever happened, it wouldn't be the end of the world if I didn't have it. And I think I finally figured it out. So if you've watched this channel over the past year and couple months, you know how much I love the accessories and the aesthetic and, making the displays and everything. I mean, even just on my shelves behind me, we've got a rooftop display with the Turtles and Hellboy, and then we have the Avengers fighting Thanos. Like, I'm all about the dioramas and, everything with that. And the one thing that we don't get are 1/12 scale vehicles. There's very few companies that do them, and when they do, it's a 50-50 shot if they're really worth it. And there is a company, I'm probably going to butcher it just because I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's Jazz Inc. They are doing, and they actually just, they originally were doing it as just like a, on the down low third party thing, but they actually got like noticed by Warner Brothers and licensed. So everything got delayed, but I have paid off the pre-order since then. The 1/12 scale Batman v Superman Batmobile. And like, DC Collectibles did the animated series Batmobile, but that thing's huge and
It is.
it's very stylized. This kind of felt more of like, this could go with almost any Batman. Like, it looks like a Batmobile. And I'm that's supposed to be shipping in October, so stay tuned for Wednesday night weekly purchases to see that. So I have that coming. There's another thing that I currently have being commissioned to kind of complete the ensemble, and that is a 1/12 scale Batcave diorama. That will even have a little parking space for said Batmobile. I even made sure to give the guy the correct dimensions so that it would fit, just to be sure. And we're talking, it's going to have the like bat computer, it's gonna have some other little like computers around, all the like cave textures, garage door,
Dinosaur, giant penny.
Not gonna have all that because this is already an expensive endeavor that I've had to sell a lot of stuff to justify. If we went that far, one, I wouldn't have room for it. because essentially this thing is going to be the size of a card table, like dimension-wise.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
So we need to get that giant T-Rex from Jurassic Park. We'll spray paint it green.
There we go.
I don't know where it would fit
We're
in
gonna
this
make
thing,
this
but
happen.
I'm kind of down
We're
for
gonna
it.
make it happen.
But yeah,
I'm
so
gonna work on
on
this.
top of that, I've also been getting like little pieces to put in it as well. Like, there's a Figma company, I think it's Good Smile, does these little armory sets, and like they have like little like gun drawers and stuff, and I've been getting those and putting them together and like painting them to look more Batcave-esque, 'cause they're just a flat gray and it just doesn't look, you know, very aesthetically pleasing in your display. And then I have like an all black like gun rack for all of his gadgets and stuff, and then I'm gonna have I'm still figuring out how I want to do it, but I'm gonna have a suit display to have the suit there separately. And
Cool.
because I've done so many different customs with the Mezco Batmans, I have kept some of the alternate heads, pulled the mouthpiece out and carved it out, so I have kind of faceless masks to put on those.
That's awesome.
Those costumes to put in the cave. So it's gonna be a huge endeavor, and he already has told me like he's still working on it, but he's like it's probably gonna have to be shipped in 2 pieces because it's so massive. But that's gonna be another thing here, and whenever it shows up kind of deal to watch out for on weekly purchases. But that I'll probably have to like try to pipe in a picture of, because there's no feasible way I'm gonna be able to hold something the size of a card table up in front of me for the live stream. But yeah, so that ended up being the thing that I kind of realized was my holy grail, but I just hadn't like hit me because of the fact that it's happening. But it was something that I had to pursue. Like I really wanted a Batmobile, and nobody makes them. And then I come across this company that just happens to be doing the like live action Batmobile that I like the most. And then I was like, well, now I need a Batcave. And I just happened to come across a dude who like was like doing a bunch of Diorama pieces, and he was like super into the idea of finally doing a Batcave. And I'm like, fucking let's do it then. So like all the stars really aligned for this, and I'm almost borderline terrified to get it all in place because it's gonna be so massive. But I think once I do, it's just gonna be so incredible that it really
Just
is my whole it's my holy
You're
grail
gonna
piece.
have to just like play all day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be like
'Cause I mean-
a Sunday fun day, like to just take 300 pictures in the Batcave situation.
Like,
Right.
I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but it's like a dollhouse in the coolest way.
Right?
So
100%.
It just takes us to be adults to get what we finally wanted. You know, like our ultimate dream as children, and now we get to have it.
Yeah, I've got
So-
Barbie's dream house, and I've got the Corvette coming. Like, what more do I
Yeah.
need?
That's awesome. And then you have like, never mind. I don't know if I don't want to bring up jokes that are inside jokes from other shows, but you know.
Well, I mean,
like
I'm
to
sure
joke
that
about
the people
how-
who come into from
That's
other
fair.
shows to watch this because they like us for some reason.
Yeah, I just make the joke all the time that Mezco figures give me the Ken doll effect, and so it's funny we brought up Barbie's dream house in the Corvette. So
True.
I'm actually shocked. Like this makes sense, and I didn't know at all about this whole, you know, Batcave situation going on. But there was something that you had shared with me a while ago, and I thought for sure you being you, Michael, was like the holy grail figure. And it was the 3D printed version of yourself.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, like that, like it's something really cool, but I think it's also one of those things that I don't know. I for that to be like a holy grail situation, I'd need like a full diorama of like my desk and the shelves behind me, and I do have tiny figures
You
for
have
my
tiny
figures,
figures, yeah.
so I could do it. It's just gonna be a very involved situation, and I also have
Right.
to. I have to get that head repainted. That's why it showed up, and I didn't show it off on weekly purchases because the paint job on it was real bad. And I felt bad. I didn't want to call the guy out or anything like that.
Yeah.
Especially considering I mostly paid to get the head made, the 3D scan and all that. But luckily, my guy in Phoenix, he always does great work. So I have to go and like acetone off the paint job the dude did, and then send it down to him so he can kind of do a better job. And before I get around to that, but. Yeah, I not gonna lie, that was briefly considered. Just because like
you didn't want to look like a
I didn't want to be a mark for myself.
It's fine. We know.
Because even like when I was in wrestling figures, with next episode's guest, I'm on another podcast called the Gimmick Minute Wrestling Podcast. I made customs of me and my other two hosts on that show, and I sent them each their figure, and I still have mine down on the shelf, but it's real mediocre. It's not anything special.
That's fair. I can't wait for Christmas, Nate.
Yeah, really.
I mean,
I
if
hope
it
I come in a little nurse outfit.
one, that's 100% how that would happen. Two, if it didn't cost as much as it did to get that head scan made, I'd honestly consider it.
Yeah. It's a really cool idea. I would kind of want to do it for myself, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, you could set a diorama up of you holding one of the little figures that you have with like a little camera. So you're like,
I did buy a little. I bought the Marvel Select Spider-Man specifically to get his camera. Because
there we go.
I got super excited and I impulse bought something on eBay and didn't realize it was 1/6 scale, not 1/12 scale. There was a literal like DSLR like figure set, and it came with like detachable lenses and shit. I'm like, holy shit, this is perfect. And then it showed up. I'm like, wow, this is massive. And literally big text on the fucking thing, 1/6 scale. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So yeah, that's why I had to go and buy Spider-Man then. But yeah, hey, if we all get figures, then we can literally do an episode where we just like set up a bunch of books on top of each other and just have our figures like sit in front of the camera with our backdrops, and we just kind of sit on the floor talking.
That's funny. That'd also be very weird.
That would be the biggest, like, figuratively speaking moment ever of this podcast.
I was gonna make that joke, and then but yeah. So that's all I have for questions.
The irony is I didn't.
Right, the one guy on the podcast.
I don't have anything else to ask you. You prepped the questions, so
I know that's the end of it, which means that's it for ToyFarerapy. So make sure to head over to Twitter and Instagram and follow us for updates, announcements, and pictures of toys at ModernToyfare. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more ToyFarerapy, weekly reviews, and other toy-related content. Also, make sure to find us every Wednesday night on twitch.tv/ModernToyfare for our weekly purchases live stream at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to check Jarmar out on the Why Are You a Gamer podcast, where he talks to people in the gaming community on why are they gamers. You can also catch him over on twitch.tv/Jarmar_games, where he streams Apex Legend and possibly other games. Maybe? I don't know. You'll have to go check out and see what he does. Also, check out Nate over on the Figuratively Speaking podcast, where he talks toys and argues over what should be made on any of your favorite podcast apps. And, of course, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to come sit on the couch.
It's warm.